Okay, you're live now.
Good morning, members. Welcome everyone to today's meeting of the Licensing Board in the chilly TDC offices. Some housekeeping. If the fire alarm is activated, please take the stairs down to the reception area and out of the building to the green in Hawley Square, which is the assembly point. Please do not use the lifts. Officers will assist you and advise when it is deemed safe to return to the council offices. I would advise that if filming takes place, anyone in attendance in the public areas may have their image captured. I urge anyone filming proceedings to avoid filming members of the public, particularly if there are children present. I can see, does anyone intend to film the meeting? That's a no. Thank you. Would everyone present please ensure that their mobile phones are turned to silent and that they are not used to make or receive phone calls whilst the meeting is in progress. An announcement to members today. Members are asked to note that item 7, licence to drive private hire vehicles, has been deferred to a future meeting due to a need for further consultation. Item 6 will also no longer be considered as it's relating to the restriction of item 7. So moving on to agenda item 1, apologies for absence. I have apologies from Councillor Scobie, Councillor Bainbridge and Councillor Driver. Are there any more apologies? No, I've got them, yeah. Are there any declarations of interest? Okay, moving on to item 3, minutes of the last licensing board meeting. Please can I have a member propose and another to second that the minutes of the licensing board meeting held on the 25th of July 2023 be approved as a correct record. Can I have a proposer, Councillor Makinson, and a seconder? Okay, thank you. Councillor Rogers. Yeah. Agenda item 4, licensing subcommittee minutes. Please can I have a member propose and another to second that the minutes of the licensing subcommittee board meeting held on the 25th of July 2023 be approved as a correct record. This was a while ago, so I'll just remind members that the councillors present were Councillor Dennis and Councillor Makinson. So could I have a Councillor Dennis, seconded by Councillor Makinson. Yeah, glad you were here. Agenda item 5, revision to the tariff for Hackney carriage vehicles in Thanet. Please can I ask Miss Alison Brock, Technical Support Manager, to present the report.
Morning everyone. As you probably remember, back in 22 I brought a report to you to look at an increase in Hackney fees because they hadn't been increased since 2017. It should have come back to you last year. I don't know what happened there, but it didn't. So it's back before you again today to see if you wish to increase the fees. We've had a couple of Hackney drivers have emailed just previously before Christmas asking if it could be looked at again. So over to you. If you do approve an increase, it will have to be advertised, and should any real objections come forward, you may have to consider it again, but it would have to be advertised before it actually becomes, it'd probably be the 1st of April it would come in from. So I'll leave it to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alison. Members, any comments or questions?
Recommendation there.
Okay. The recommendation is for the board to consider the contents of the report to determine whether a fair increase should be agreed, and if so, how much, or to consider the contents of the report and agree to leave the fees as they currently stand.
Thanks, Alan. Can I just ask Alison, this is a maximum that they're allowed? Are they able to increase it by less if they choose to? So if we give them I mean, if you look at inflation, general inflation, I think, would make £10 worth £12.30 today. So that would be a 23% increase. So if they were given, say, a 30% increase, and could they choose to just incrementally increase the charges rather than having to put the full whack on straight away?
No, not really. It's very difficult because obviously you've got nearly 100 Hackney drivers. You can't guarantee that they're all going to do the same thing. I mean, obviously, whatever we put it up to, if they want to, if a particular driver wanted to charge less, they can do. But to do something like that would be very difficult.
Thank you. I feel there should be a slight increase as it's been so long since it's remained static. So that's my view. Thank you.
Councillor Wing.
I think when we discussed this before, we were already playing catch-up. Were we one of the lowest? Are we still, in comparison to Dover, Canterbury, all the regions around us, what percentage lower would you say we actually are?
Well, we're currently, it's on a Annex B, we're currently 6.21 for a 2-mile journey, and the next lowest is Dover, which is £7.10. It's bizarre. I've looked at lots of authorities and they all have really weird ways of working it out, because you have that these figures are worked out for a 2-mile journey, and some of them do it in meters, some of them do it in yards, some of them do it per how many seconds, and it would be so much easier if there was just one formula that everybody had to work by, but everybody works them out differently.
I mean, looking at that figure on Annex 2, sorry, my touch screen has gone, we're significantly lower, aren't we, really? It's not just a few pence. It looks as if it's over £1 lower. I mean, maths is not that great. So, 30% might seem a massive increase. I know we're also living an area with high levels of deprivation and are more deprived than any other area in Kent. So it's a difficult one.
You I've just done those percentages as an example. I mean, say, like, for instance, for the 30% one at the end, you could change that to be £4.40 and then 30p, so then it's a nice round £8. It doesn't have to be in a percentage, but like I say, it's a nightmare trying to work it out.
Thanks, Alison. So we are the lowest, £6.21. Next it's Medway at 7, and then Dover 7.10. I always go with Dover because they're next door to us and they're similar. Can you explain the difference between the tariff 1s, 2 and 3? Thanks.
I think that's on our actual Hackney Zone fees as it is at the moment on the card. Basically, tariff 2 is your basic before midnight, between 6 a.m. and midnight, and it excludes holidays and bank holidays. And tariff 2 is after midnight and includes all the holidays, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, Easter, all the sort of holidays like that. So that's the difference between those two. 3 is for Christmas and New Year's Eve specifically.
Councillor Manners.
Thank you, Alan. Another question for Alison. Given it does seem that we've got a shortage of taxi drivers. Anyone that's tried to get a taxi in from Broadstairs to Margate on a Saturday evening would know that we struggle to have the right number of taxis in Thanet. Is there likely to be an unmet demand survey for Hackney carriages to increase the licences? I mean, if that were to happen fairly soon, obviously having more attractive rates for drivers would be a good way to attract more drivers to apply for licences. And I did mention that if you looked at Bank of England CPI, that we would be looking at about a 23% immediate increase. So when would the next, that's what cost of living has increased by since 2019. When would the next review of fares be after the review today?
The next review would obviously be this time next year, because we do it yearly. there is the provision to do an unmet demand survey because currently our Hackneys are 108, we're limited to. They used to be zoned into Margate, Ramsgate, Broadstairs villages, and then a few years ago they all got lumped into Thanet zone. Personally, I don't think there is an unmet demand, but a survey, the last one that Dover did, cost them about 10,000, so it is something we need to look at.
So with regards to the unmet demand, the last one I think we did was 2007. It cost quite a lot of money, but that was asked for by the trade, so they ended up paying for that. So yeah, I mean, it is something that we could consider, but it would be down to the trade to want that, and I suspect they wouldn't because they're quite happy with their 108 or whatever they've got. So just for clarification on that.
Councillor Manners.
I mean, I think we know that Hackney licences are swapping hands for quite considerable amounts of money. I think 5,000 to 10,000 was a figure that I'd heard. So I assume from that there was an unmet demand, because why would people pay £5,000 or £10,000 to get their hands or to transfer a licence? But I take the point that turkeys won't vote for Christmas. Nobody's going to vote to increase competition. But I'd hope that if we do significantly increase the fares here, that maybe the circuits would look at increasing fares to a point where we would get a better equilibrium with the number of drivers and to meet demand. Because at the moment, my experience living on between Margate and Broadstairs is it's very often difficult to get a taxi. It's extremely difficult to get a taxi sometimes.
I think you also have to be aware that obviously Hackney carriages can work private hire. So the majority of those are working private hire, which obviously private hire we have no controls over, so we can have as many as who wants to apply. We very rarely have Hackney sitting on the ranks anymore. So, you know, apart from the stations where they pay station rights. So this is all sort of things to consider really, that, you know, they can all do private hire work.
Any more questions, members? So the options are to change the current Thanet fees with the new policy going forward, or for the fees to remain the same. Does any member want to propose one of the options? Councillor Wing.
Could I propose that if we took the 20% increase, that would make us parallel or similar to Dover, and as you said, the demographics sort of similar, but we guarantee we come back next year to have a review again, and we don't miss that opportunity. So we guarantee to review the situation year on year on.
Members, any other comments on that proposal?
I'd propose increasing it by the 30%. Next year we could always look at keeping it the same. When you look at inflation for the sort of goods and services that, you know, a normal working person would buy, inflation over the last 4 years has been way more than the 23% that on the CPI figures. You know, cost of heating, fuel and so on. So I'd propose putting it up by 30% to bring it up slightly above what people are paying in Dover. And I mean, remember, this is Hackney carriage fares. This isn't circuit fares. The majority of people who are dependent on taxis, who are on limited incomes, would be using the circuits, wouldn't be using Hackney drivers. The Hackney drivers are very much, I think, focused on the visitor economy. And I think that visitors to Thanet get a bit of a free ride at the moment. So I'd welcome seeing more money being spent by visitors when they come here, and 30% for Hackney drivers would be a good start.
Yeah. Can I just ask the officers, what would a 30% increase, how would that compare with the other areas?
It's on Annex B. A 30% increase would take it up to £8.09, which takes it above everybody apart from Sevenoaks.
Councillor Wing proposed a 20% increase. Have I got a seconder for that? Yeah. Could we have a vote on that? Yeah, that would be the best thing. Yeah. Could we have a vote on a 20% increase for the fee. I think the members have agreed a 20% increase in fees, and as Councillor Wing said, we could come back and look at this next time. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll make sure it's in the it's programmed in for this meeting every year.
Okay.
I've got Councillor Ara second, and just ask real quick if members all agree with that.
Yeah. Members, do you all agree with the proposal and the 20% increase? Thank you. Okay, as agenda item 6 and agenda item 7 have been removed from the meeting, that will now conclude the proceedings for this licensing board meeting. Thank you all very much.